Hello, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the NBA free agency. Quick little recap in case you missed what's going on yesterday. I know this will be coming out probably a bit earlier than normal. I want to get it out hopefully at noon on Saturday, before the NHL free agency starts. Maybe do a quick recap on that. Have one of my hockey experts come on in and break it down. But I thought we'd just start with 2 days ago. Some of the big things that quickly happened. Just quickly reading through Woj's Twitter. Basically, is what I'm going to do. Cedi Osman, forward for the Cavs, got his contract guaranteed. Andre Drummond, ex-Piston, opted into his player option. Lakers did a lot, right? So they start off by waiving Mo Bamba and not getting Malik Beasley's team option, which is interesting because you thought that they could have accepted him and had an expiring $16 million deal and flip it somewhere, like we see later with the Pistons. The biggest thing that we saw was Harden opted in his player option and intends to be traded. I don't know if he wants to be traded or if the team's having him trade, but it's looking like he's going to either be a Clipper or a Knick. This is going to happen pretty soon, I'd imagine. After that, the next thing that we saw get extended, one of the big names of free agency, was Harrison Barnes' 3-year, $54 million deal, which was pretty low. I believe it's 18, right? Let me just do a quick math. Yep, it's $18 million a year. That's pretty low for what we end up seeing later on in the cycle. After that, we kind of were just in a holding pattern. Trenton Wofford, he's out of LSU. He got released by the Trailblazers. Pistons have the best waiver because it's based on a record, so they could pick him up. I would not be surprised if that happens. But speaking of the Pistons, the next thing happened. Pistons are trading for Joe Harris. Initially, it was 2 second-round picks for Joe Harris, and everyone was like, what the hell are we doing? And it flipped to end up being we get 2 second-round picks. So that was like, okay, no problem. I'll jump the gun here because it doesn't matter. The Pistons end up taking one of those picks and sending it to Washington for Monte Morris, veteran point guard. So you bring in one of the best shooters in the league and an unbelievably good backup point guard out of Flint, Michigan, too. So it's good for him. He's super excited. He was happy on the timeline. I think he's going to be a good backcourt mate. Him and Marcus Sasser off the bench in the backcourt will be fun. Maybe Burks and him. But it's a good veteran bench piece. And again, it's an expiring deal. He can get flipped at the deadline. You can pretty much see the Pistons, what they're doing this entire thing was use our cap space and let's get it to everything being one-year deals. And I think Marvin Bagley is going to be a similar thing. They might trade him with Bogdanovich for a guy that's expiring, something like a Tobias Harris, the type thing. We'll see. But I just do think that the Pistons, Joe Harris is going to help the spacing of the floor, especially on the defense, not on defense, especially with the second unit, which he probably is going to be on. But I don't want to get too much into Pistons here. After that, we saw the first thing that happened. Draymond Green signed a contract extension, 4 years, $100 million. Super easy math, 25 a year with a player option, I believe, the last one. Yeah, the final one. And after that, Karis LeVert, 2 year, $32 million. So he's a really good player, obviously out of Michigan. The college, not the state. $16 million a season for him. Good bench scorer. He was a six-man. Played a lot of playoff minutes. Kind of like a not like a Duncan Robinson type, but like one of those guys where he didn't play as much in the regular season, minutes-wise and games-wise. And then when the playoffs came around, he was one of their biggest pieces. After that, Drew Eubanks, 2-year deal with the Suns. Suns have there's always money in the banana stand. The Suns figured it out and signed a bunch of guys. Kyle Kuzma came back, 4 years, 102. What is that? 4 years, 102. So what even is that? That's going to be a little bit over what Draymond got, 25.5, which is pretty good for him. Kobe White re-signs 3 years, $40 million with the Chicago Bulls. Keita Bates-Diop, 2 years, $5 million for the Suns. Good defensive wing, can score the ball as well out of Ohio State. Pretty good spot, giving some great bench depth for the Suns, who also signed Damian Lee and Yuta Watanabe. Watanabe, unbelievable spot-up shooter. He's going to be making a lot of minutes, a lot of appearances late in games, despite their crazy star lineup, because he can hit shots like nobody's business. Damian Lee, good bench point guard, along with Campaign. Taurean Prince, he was waived by the, actually not extended a qualifying offer, I believe is the correct term, from the Minnesota Timberwolves. He now signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. Bruce Brown signed a 2-year, $45 million deal. Awesome for that. A lot of money, obviously, 24.5 a year for 2 years. Comes in with some championship pedigree now, which is what we like to see for a young team like them. And good two-way player. Totally fits in with the Pacers organization. Like these kind of, role play-ish type guys playing good minutes and really making a lot out of it. Speaking with them, they signed a massive extension for Tyrese Haliburton. We'll get to in a minute. Then the next one we saw was the first crazy contract, in my opinion. This is when the overpay started to happen. $32 million a year for 5 years for Jeremy Grant. Crazy deal there. After that, Javon Carter out of Milwaukee signs with the Bulls. 3 years, $20 million. Great deal. Good backup point guard. Might even start. A little bit of Lonzo Ball insurance, I'm pretty sure, out there. Chimezie Metu, I believe he's Nigerian, and he's out of USC, signing with the Suns. Crazy. Georges Niang goes to the Cavs, 3 years, $26 million. Another good 3-and-D wing. More 3 than D, but yep, really appreciate him going there. And it's nice to see that they were going to get Max Strus, but he's still on the board as of now. I'm recording this at 9 a.m. Saturday. Chris Middleton, 3 years, $102 million deal. Another good deal for him. I believe that's $34 million a season. So good signing for him. He obviously came off that injury, didn't really come back as strong as we would have liked to see from him, but I believe he'll definitely get his affairs in order and will be back to being a really good player, helping Milwaukee out because Giannis is apparently unhappy and didn't know what was going on. Jakob Poeltl, 4 years, $80 million with the Raptors. I don't really know what the Raptors are doing, man. The Raptors are up to something, but I don't know if it's great. $20 million a year for a center that can't shoot, kind of the going rate. And actually, Vucevic is doing better than that, but Poeltl's obviously a way better defensive center. After that, we saw, Cam Johnson getting $27 million a year from the Nets to stay there. The Pistons obviously wanted him pretty bad, but then the Pistons traded with them to get a guy off the books so they could re-sign him instead of him coming to the Pistons. So maybe the Pistons didn't like his medicals, something like that. But it would have been a great player for the Pistons, and it sucks to see him on the team. Trey Jones, 2 years, $20 million with the Spurs. He was, obviously the fourth man of the big three of Zion, RJ, and Cam Reddish at Duke. So good for him to get him a second contract. Obviously not a full-length second contract, but, second contract, $20 million in Texas, no income tax. Great deal. Joe Ingles, 2 years, $22 million with the Magic. Good little veteran presence there. A good 3-and-D wing, another shooter. Probably the least athletic guy on the Magic, but they're a bunch of hyper athletes, so that's not saying much. Shake Milton signs with Minnesota. Kind of a nothing burger. No offense to Mr. Shake. 2 years, $10 million. Good, guard depth for them. I don't even remember who their other guards were that they lost. But with Mike Conley coming off the books next season, probably a good idea. Herb Jones, another guy that I wanted for the Pistons. 4 years, $54 million deal. What's that, like 13 or 14 a year? Under 15, 13 and a half, I think. So good for him to get re-signed in New Orleans. Another D wing, not so much 3, but more of a defensive wing. Super good wingspan, elite defender, almost an All-NBA defensive team, I believe, his first season or two. But then we got the crazy clutch contract. 3 years, $130 million for a 5'11 point guard that loves to shot chuck and is extremely inefficient. Totally fits in with the Houston Rockets. Fred VanVleet. $43.5 million a season for the next 3 years. That's when they're going to have to start paying their other guys. So I don't really know what's going on there. Does he fit in a lot? No. They wanted a pass point guard. A pass first point guard probably would have been the best thing there. And definitely didn't get that. So crazy one. First max contract of the season. Julian Champagne with the Spurs. I don't really know what to tell you. 4 year, $12 million deal. Good for him. Dennis Schroeder, 2 years, $26 million with the Raptors. So a replacement for VanVleet there. I don't really know what exactly they're doing, but we'll see what ends up happening. O'Shea Brissett, the Syracuse guy. Yeah. 2 year deal with the Celtics. Good 3-and-D wing off the bench. Seth Curry goes back to the Mavericks. I believe he was there beforehand from the Nets. Nets are kind of re-upping their things. Derrick Rose, great deal here. The Guns N' Roses backcourt nickname here. We have Derrick Rose signing with the Memphis Grizzlies. Love this deal. I think that it gives a really good veteran presence for Ja Morant. I was saying this yesterday when he signed last night. Ja Morant is losing his career by choice, and a guy like Derrick Rose, pretty similar player build, play style, everything like that, his was taken away not by his choice. It's by, I don't know, divine intervention, whatever you want to say, with his ACL exploding. So he's probably going to be like, dude, what are you doing? Victor Oladipo opts into his player option and trades himself. He gets traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder for draft capital. If he gets back from that scary knee injury, we'll see. I'm assuming his career is probably over, unfortunately, at this point. I hate to see it happening. Tyrese Halliburton, 5-year, $260 million contract extension. I believe this is the max he could get due to being an All-NBA team. $52 million annually if it's divided up. So I believe it's scaling upwards. So it'll be, almost touching $60 million in his last season, which is mental. And if you didn't think that one was bad, Desmond Bane, kind of a role player, but also the Grizzlies' best player, I would say, last season, with Ja Morant being nuts. He really stood up and did his thing. $41 million a year average. So he's making a little bit less than, what's his name? A little bit less than Van Vliet, but that was his extension. Pretty much the last thing we saw. Yeah, we've gotten nothing really since then. Oh, breaking news. Just now. Wow. Max Strus, 4-year, $63 million sign-and-trade deal. A Heat get a second-round pick and a Spurs... Oh, 3-team deal. So the Heat get a second-round pick back for Max Strus, and the Spurs get Chetty Osman and Lamar Stevens and another second-rounder. Okay, interesting. So Cleveland had a bit of a shooting problem, and they signed Max Strus to a 4-year, $63 million. Jesus. Sorry, live reaction here. I didn't have anything prepared here. 15.5, so $16 million a year, basically. 15, 15, 16, 16. Or actually, it'll be 15, 16, 16, 16 to make that work. And they signed Georges Niang and Max Strus. So, yeah, Cavs are my division. I don't really like that because they just got a lot better shooting. And, wow, yeah. Interesting. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed. Kyrie Irving re-signed. Let me just quickly run through Shams. And if there's anything that I missed with him, he'll obviously give me it there. Let's see here. Shams. What do you have? Monte Morris, the Pistons. We already did that one. Derrick Rose. Already got that one. Josh Richardson signs with the Heat. Another great one. Lakers re-sign Rui Hachimura. Nice one. Yeah, Yuta Watanabe to the Suns. Mentioned Gabe Vincent, 3 years, $33 to the Lakers. Great deal. Heat are losing a ton, so maybe they're trying to clear up some space to get what's his name in, Damian Lillard. Who knows? And then $126 million over 3 seasons, $42 million a year. I believe it's a max contract for Kyrie Irving. Reggie Jackson re-signs with the Nuggets. Anything else in here? No, that's pretty much it. So yeah. I would say some of the early winners would be the Cavs now, adding another shooting wing, probably paying a little bit too much. But, again, it's kind of monopoly money at this point. Obviously, the cap, for a team like them, they're already so cap-strapped that if they can sign and trade and make it work, that works for them. That's probably why they extended Chetty Osman like that. So, other winners, anybody that got a max contract, the rookie class, Tyrese Halliburton there. Win for the Pacers, and them and Bruce Brown. Pacers, I think, are going to make the play-in. They might make the playoffs outright. I'll obviously get into that more. Jarace Walker, great pickup in the draft. But yeah, let me know down below what you think. Want to do a quick recap, and ended up being about 13, 14 minutes. So we'll see how that all goes. But thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe. Have a great long weekend, and have fun on the boat with your friends and family, and think about what America means to you. I might do a video about that tomorrow, but probably not. But we'll see. See ya. Peace.